What are my views on multiculturalism? What are my views on multiculturalism? I want to desperately appeal to everyone to remember the meaning of debate, and whatever your default political position might be, the facts of a matter never really change. A problem never really moves. Snagging an internal combustion engine doesn't really change because 100 people are discussing it. Now, for example, let's look at this engine analogy. An engine is overheating and temporarily seizing, and now it's not fit for purpose, and 1,000 mechanics of varying levels give their ideas for a remedy. And the point of this analogy is to point at that whatever is said, whatever action is taken, and whatever is done to that engine, the actual, real, genuine problem will never ever move or change. The reason causing a dysfunction does not move. And so therefore it's incumbent upon everybody with every opinion to firstly debate in detail about what that initial issue is. Now, on to the point of this piece about multiculturalism. Because when the conversation on immigration and multiculturalism comes up, almost everybody instantly gets bogged down in who stabbed who and who's in hotels and two-tier policing, and the whole rabbit hole opens up for 1,000 views. And in my opinion, the whole premise of multiculturalism is an instant nonsense. There is simply no merit for the basic premise of a successful multicultural mixing in the absence of a shared belief system and framework, one which everybody has to accept. Now that's just the basic problem. It isn't going to move. For multiculturalism, there has to be a framework which everybody accepts, full stop. Now, you can go to Harvard, you can go to Oxford or Cambridge, you can be well educated or be in politics all your life. That is not going to change. Now, in England, there's a definite absence of any shared framework, so therefore, QED, there can never be full social cohesion or the success of multiculturalism unless everybody, without exception, accepts the dominant culture. And in England, over many hundreds of years, the dominating culture is Christianity. And so, obviously, therefore, any immigration has to fully accept and adopt that Christianity is the main framework and the rules that adhere to that, and that is the basic start point. Now, it might surprise you that I actually believe that multiculturalism can be achieved, and we've proved that in England for decades. Because previously in the UK, there were hundreds of thousands of immigrants have fully accepted and retained a social cohesion in England and have made it work. They've arrived in England, they've worked in England, they've adopted the England ways, and nobody resents or disrespects them. But now, when we get to the most recent events of radical misalignment with dogmatic demands of radical Islam, for example, or the radical stupidity of open borders, or the radical stupidity of the UK accepting anybody from anywhere and treating them as complete equals. You see, the whole globalist progressive movement really sees absolutely no benefit in a specific culture or identity. It automatically assumes as a start point that everybody's the same. And that means that people from a third world desolate place where their cultural behaviour patterns are not equivalent to those in the West, that's okay. And if we look at recent history, we can see, for example, take the Lebanon in the 1970s. The Lebanon, like the UK, was an open-handed Christian country, and it allowed extreme opposing religion of Islam into its high office, just as we do in the West, and they nurtured freedom of choice, and they had full acceptance of other religions. And a decade later, Christians were being slaughtered by Islamic terrorists by the side of the road. There's a saying, isn't there, that says radical Islam is a snake in the long grass, and that moderate Islam is the grass that hides it. The point that I'm making is that for peace and for cultural cohesion, there has to be absolute agreement on a dominant framework, a dominant culture, which newcomers simply must fit into. And if they fight it to the death whilst claiming to be a part of it, the whole thing becomes an absolute nonsense. And what are the current ingredients? We've got two-tier policing, radical Islam, an ethos that accepts everybody as being the same, this inequality of everyone being entitled to what's called fairness. The whole concept of any multiculturalism is absolutely lost in a backdrop like that. And when you think about the European Union motto, which is unity in diversity, well, it's laughable, isn't it? Because it's exactly, utterly, totally back to front. Diversity has to be within unity and not the other way around. So, going back to this analogy I was using about an engine, when 100 mechanics discuss 1,000 remedies for a broken engine, they're totally, utterly wasting their time if they don't grasp the original, real, genuine issue, which never moves. It never has moved, and it never will move. So there's my opinion, and I think the fact of the matter. So squabble away about Islam or immigrants or hotels or multiculturalism over 1,000 dinner tables in 1,000 pubs, but what a waste of anger, because the whole concept is a moot point without merit. And until leaders of our country realise and remedy that, we are all going to dissolve into an acid bath of pointless echo chambers, voicing others' opinions about problems that aren't the root cause, rather than ever realising the obvious for ourselves. I feel so much better for having said that. Goodbye.